What's up guys, leftstickrightstick is back finally after I repaired my PlayStation 4 after it died, but no, we are back now with a super extended team pick review. We've missed a lot of team picks in the meantime. We've had like a whole month worth of basically no team picks we haven't been through. We've actually played through quite a few of these team picks before they were picked, but you know, we're going to start reviewing them. So first off, Midnight Hollow by CB7 Sun. It's a very spooky looking level, as you can tell. It was actually released just a little bit before the Halloween period, and it was very fitting. It's actually a very nice Halloween style level. I really enjoyed it. I really like the little ghosties. You know, as always, CB7 Sun whole template sort of approach to making levels now. It's just pretty good. It's very enjoyable. I mean, you kind of know what you're expecting now from CB7 Sun. It's exactly every screen is just going to be a static screen, and you just move between sections of this level. And you know, it's very simple, basic platforming. It's starting to, you know, annoy me, I guess, that CB7 Sun really hasn't done much different. It's always just changing the aesthetic of what is basically the same template. Although, to be fair, I do like this particular template, this particular edition a bit more, just because it's less rigid and stuff. The obstacles do feel fresher. I think maybe it is the ghost aesthetic that makes it feel fresher. Although you'll see in the team pick a bit later where some of the obstacles clearly have just been copied and reskinned. So, you know, that's a little annoyance that I have with Midnight Hollow. But otherwise, a very nice platformer, and something that you know you're going to enjoy. So, you know, there's nothing wrong with it. It's still fun to play. Let me know in the comments what you think about reusing the same sort of template and getting team picked for it. Then next up, we have When the Harvest Ends by Snerky Monster. It is a very nice little level. I really like this whole farm barnyard theme. I really like the dynamicness of the background as well. There's always something going on, something that sort of you can see moving with it, like leaves in the background, eggs rolling around. It's really nice. There's just always something to keep your eyes entertained as well. It's a toggle level, obviously, as you can see. But what's really fun about this level is actually he's put loads of different references to you know, different creators, and also maybe different levels actually in as like little poster boards in the level. So it's like an advertisement as well. It's really nice that there's like little side bits where you can actually collect extra apples. I like that they use apples as sort of bonus bits. It doesn't feel like, you know, unlike with like sort of coloured stones, these extra apples don't feel like they actually, you know, you have to collect them all. There's no sort of requirement at the very end to say, oh yes, did I collect them all? They blend in very well, and sort of it feels like, oh, there's just a little extra, because there's also other apple sort of decorations which you can't collect, which is, you know, it makes it feel like it's less you have to do this to actually max up the level, which is very nice. We've got some really interesting sort of obstacles that utilize Toggle's abilities, which is actually very fun. It's good, you know, good use of Toggle. It does feel very different from a lot of other Toggle levels as well, which is great. The music is good, and you know, you can actually have a little bit of a section which required 2 players, although I feel like it was too simple, that bit that required 2 players maybe. But overall, it had a very nice flow and a really great level, and I really enjoyed it. So definitely, you know, check it out and see if you can actually identify all those other levels mentioned in this level. Next up, we have Mozart on a Hoverboard by Emporuto. So this is obviously a hoverboard level. I actually found it really interesting in the way this level was done. I mean, just using classical themes, and then this whole using the sort of score music, I don't know what you call it, you know, the music script as a sort of rails. That was actually pretty cool. I really like that idea. And this is, you know, a race level, obviously, as you can tell with the race time on the corner. And what's really cool is that there's actually 2 different modes that you can do. You can actually be, I think it's Mozart and Beethoven. You can switch between the 2, which you unlock one after you complete the level. And there's actually, what I really like about this is that there's actually different, well, not so much different, the track is the same really, but there's a few differences in the track, which is, you know, makes it hard mode and easy mode, which is actually very nice. It gives it a replayability factor. See, this is sort of like the hard mode sort of section where they've actually added these firewalls, where otherwise the easy mode is without the firewalls. And then it gives you a lot more bubbles in the hard mode, so you can actually improve on your score if you really want to, if you're really inclined. And there's lots of ways to actually max up your score. What really annoyed me though was that the sort of costume that they gave us, which was really cool looking, didn't survive after 1 life. You know, once you die, you lose your costume. It's a real shame. But I think my favorite bit was these music scale note bits. It's a bit challenging, I guess, in some respects, because maybe I'm just not very good with the hoverboard. But apart from that, the aesthetic-wise, I thought it didn't quite really gel. You know, these whole aesthetic, the violins, the cupboards, it doesn't really make sense. It doesn't really quite all go together, but it was still very fun, nevertheless. Next up, we have Sound Town by Dr. Slaughter 22. Now, Sound Town is a very nice level in some of the bits, like this super zappy thing, and like some visual effects are very, very nice in this level. I'm not that keen on the overall aesthetic of this level though. It just doesn't go together as well as some of Dr. Slaughter 22's other levels. I mean, I would say this is one of my least favorites of Dr. Slaughter's levels. The main thing that I really do like that sort of brings this whole back is this whole zapping thing. That aesthetic is amazing. I like transporting through that zap, and I kind of wished it sort of gelled more with the rest of the level. It's got some interesting obstacles. There's phasing in obstacles, jump pads and stuff, but I think the whole thing that I had an issue with the whole level was that it just doesn't look as nice as what I was expecting from Dr. Slaughter 22. That was just something that irked me, as it were. But otherwise, it's got actually nice little gameplay elements. It's a little short, but you progress everything nicely, and it's got very nice music. Being Sound Town, it should do. But some of the visual elements are actually visual effects are very good, but some of the aesthetics of just general decoration just really. Why you made some of the visual effects look so good, and yet the rest of the level doesn't quite match up? Why did that happen? So I feel like, and Dr. Slaughter 22 actually can make some really nicely decorated levels. So it's like, a missed opportunity there. Next up, we have Sprint Boy by Snerky. We're going on to some graphically different levels now for a bit. This whole week that these were team picked was actually different. They're all aesthetically changed from a Sackboy. But this is a very, very, very basic level, as you can see. This is all there is that you see on the screen. You can just go up and down, avoid the spikes, and collect a key. There's musical change options just to help it make it more interesting, and there's a color change option. You can keep it dark or just have it rainbow color, just keep rolling between colors. There's not much really to it, but I just really like the whole concept of changing the whole aesthetic. It's not LPP anymore. It's like a super retro game, which is very nice, to be honest. And it is impressive that someone's made it a graphically different level, and it's quite smooth. I had some issues actually when it started getting harder, just because it felt like it's not really responsive enough. Surely this Snerky boy, Sprint Boy, can actually move a bit faster and not actually just when are we meant to avoid these spikes without actually hitting these spikes? Yeah, whatever I said there. But it's nice that they've got a little sort of progress bar at the top. That's actually very nice, and sort of to show your speed, a speedometer indicator. It's just, there's a lot of nice little things about it that just make it just feel, it's so nice. And it oozes retro nostalgia, which is really great. Which, it's really lovely, but there's really only so much you can really say it and enjoy about this level, unless you really want to get that high score. I actually found it easier on the black, the whole black mode, monochrome mode, but it's up to you. Let me know how well you do. Finally, the other sort of graphically changed level we had that week was Bit by Bit by MechWarrior 21. This was amazing. I thoroughly enjoyed this level. It is generally quite basic. It felt so much like what you'd expect of like a mobile app game. It was amazing. The menu was great. It's got different music. It's awesome. So the premise of this level is it's got 3 lives. It's sort of a bit like Snake-ish. You go around collecting bits and you avoid the monsters. And there's extra bombs. There's lots of different varieties of sort of enemies that keeps it fresh. It doesn't look like it's too boring because there's a good variety of these enemies and you move around. And there's actually what seems like a sort of Pac-Man mode where you can eat and devour these monsters. Obviously I didn't quite read the instructions too carefully, but it's pretty cool. I really like the whole setting. It's very cutesy and it felt very polished. I mean, it may not be that much variety in what you're meant to do, because the whole point of this is just to collect dots, which your enemies can eat as well, so they can take points away from you. You've got 3 lives. And it's generally, I guess, quite easy. It doesn't seem like the difficulty ramps up too quickly, so it's a very nice progression. and you know, it's a bit forgiving that you have 3 lives. But I guess there really doesn't seem to be that much to it. Once you're really in the flow of it, you know how to do things. You know when to set off the bombs most effectively, and you know the attack patterns of the enemies. It gets all quite simple, and I guess it flows very well. But I don't know, it's just the whole cutesy animation of this bot bit guy is really cool, especially the game over screen. I thought it was awesome. Everything about it was very polished and nice. Definitely worth a team pick, and sort of expected from a level by MechWarrior21. And it just makes me feel like I really want to play like a longer version of this level in like an actual app game. Now we're on to the second CB7 Sun level in this team pick review. As you can already see, it is a very similar style level to Midnight Hollow that we looked at earlier. And you know, the main difference being the cool aesthetic here. So you've got the outline of the whole world and Sackboy, which is, you know, it does look very cool, to be honest. And I really like this whole death animation that we get. It kind of fits the sort of theme, I guess, of outlines. And you know, as you can see, this obstacle looks very similar to one that you might have seen in Midnight Hollow. So is this a team pick sort of level? I'm a bit not too sure, just because it is pretty much the same as a lot of other CB7 Sun levels. The major difference being just the slight aesthetic change. Well, there's nothing wrong with that aesthetic change because it looks really cool. I really like this aesthetic style, don't get me wrong. And it's just that it feels like if we just keep team picking essentially the same level reskinned, it just doesn't feel right, as it were. So I don't know which one of CB7 Sun's levels I actually like the most in this whole style, because they do feel very different. To be fair, they do feel very different. I mean, we got Boost in this one, and the previous one in Midnight Hollow we didn't. So there are lots of different things about each one, which do make it feel a bit fresh. But I guess if you're playing them quite close to each other, it's very noticeable how samey it feels. So that's sort of a major complaint for me, but probably not really a complaint for most people, I guess. But, you know, because even though that does that, it's still not a complaint about level, it's still really fun. And then next up we have Shuffle Time by JohnnyMo724. This is a very, very simple level. But once again, it did graphically change the whole thing. You don't see Sackboy in this at all. It is just literally, you're on a table, you find the club. The club card, and you just move around. It's one of those street games, I guess, and you just keep going until you get it wrong a certain number of times. I like that the number of lives was sort of depicted by the number of cards in the right hand corner, which actually might be hidden by in our video by the team pick logo, the actual level logo. But you know, I really like that part portion of it that we used actual cards to represent how many lives you have. It's a really good sort of aesthetic. It doesn't feel very real, I guess, but it feels right. And I kind of like this whole transition between difficulty. Once you've got it right 5 times in a row, not so much in a row, once you've got it right 5 times, then you progress to an increased difficulty level with the other card. I made it up to 5 cards. I don't know if you can go any further, because, you know, it kind of took up the whole table, so maybe not. Maybe 5 cards is the limit. I couldn't quite get any further just because I wasn't very good at this, to be honest. I can only get it there. But I like that they actually made things different apart from just the card. You know, they changed the table look in the background, which is actually a nice the little details that help improve it and make it seem less stale. Because otherwise, if it stayed the same look aesthetically while just adding another card and making it harder, it would have felt a lot more tedious than it actually was. This whole curtain call thing really does break up the level, which is very nice. And then next up we have Lights Forest 2 by SrFreeze. So this is a sequel to a previous level by SrFreeze, Lights Forest, and you know, aesthetically it looks very, very nice. It does pretty much just follow the exact theme of Lights Forest 1, which is nice, and it's, you know, you're going around flipping switches to activate sort of extra platforms or bits that help you sort of progress through this whole cave, which is very nice. Well, I mean, it's meant to be a forest, but it looks very cave-like. They've got, you know, it's all quite simple in this whole level. The obstacles are very much easy to do. It's very aesthetically nice, and the music is so fitting. It feels so tranquil playing through this level. There's, you know, the obstacles, they don't sometimes really fit in with the scenery, I feel like. They feel a bit sort of shoehorned in the way that they are, but it's still, that doesn't really detract from it. They're interesting obstacles as in themselves. Like the whole Velociportal with this block is actually very nice. It may not really fit with the aesthetic, it doesn't quite make sense, there's no narrative to go with it, but it's still, this whole tranquil level is all about tranquility, peace, and why you just do little puzzles along the way. But there's a few sort of hidden bells and bells to collect throughout the level, which is very nice, and at the end they actually do have a lot of, an indicator at the end, have you collected them all, which is, what I really like when it's very obvious that there's a certain amount to collect, bells, different coloured marbles, not bells, but it's a very nice level, really tranquil. I love this level, so well worth the team pick. And then next up we have another level by Chris Redwalker 6. It's about time we got more recognition in team picks. This is a level all based on Demon's Souls, really, and there's not much to really say about Chris Redwalker's levels, because every time it is just the same thing, the same comments about Chris Redwalker's levels. Aesthetically, they are mind-blowing. How he's managed to get so much detail in is astounding. But basically this is an adventure, and it's not really an adventure, to be honest. It's sort of like the hub where you can go around to different areas of the Demon's Souls world, and he's recreated them pretty amazingly. You can go through castles, you went through caves, and it is just amazing. I'm only showing you a portion of this adventure because it's actually quite long, and all these things look so good. I just don't know how he can do it, and it's just not even just how he does it, it's sort of how much time he takes to actually do all this stuff, because there's so much little details here and there everywhere, and he's maximized the use of all 16 layers, as well as how he fits everything in each level. It's just wow. I mean, to be fair though, there's like probably no logic involved in this whole level, because all you can do is literally just walking through a painting. That is Chris Redwalker's levels. You walk through an amazing, beautiful painting. Well, a few things that annoyed me, as usual, with some movement, was sort of his stairs. You actually had to jump on top of each one. He could have used like sort of those invisible triangles to help smooth so you can run up the stairs. But obviously, as always, Chris Walker has these little movement issues, sometimes layer issues, when you just can't quite jump right between layers. But what can you do when it looks so good? Next up we have the Canyons Don't Jump by Steven 2002. This is quite an interesting level. Aesthetically, it is very basic and it's very LBP-esque, LBP1-esque in terms of the feel. And the whole premise of the game, of this whole level, is to not jump. You die if you jump, basically. You get blown up, which is pretty cool. I mean, you have to wonder your way, activate switches, you pull on things and you grab things and you swing, but you cannot press that jump button, which actually, I just got so used to using jump in every level that it doesn't always immediately come to you, especially when you want to get some bubbles in some weird place, or you want to sort of like quickly get ahead of certain areas. Jumping is sort of very intuitive to do. Yes, I want to jump, I want to get around there, but it really punishes you in this level, and it doesn't feel too restrictive, I guess, in this level, because there's a whole variety of stuff to do. You can swing, there's different bounce pads, and there's minecarts. Although, it was a very short level, but still, it felt right. All, the length and the obstacles all felt very good. It never felt boring during this whole level. And what really kind of confused me, why do people put all these photography things in the middle? It distracted me so much. Why would you do that? Because surely if I want to take a photo, I'd just, with other players, we'd pose and we'd stay around. I mean, who's gonna have that swinging bit? Or I'd just press the snapshot button on the controller. But I really wish that we could have used this minecart a bit more. It only appeared twice in the level, but the Canyons Don't Jump was a very nice level. A great take on the don't move sort of genre. Next up is a level we've covered a few times, I think, probably actually in the earlier on in the year. This is Mag Speedrun by DigoKube. It was an entry into a competition where they were recreating sort of basically challenge style levels. So obviously with a challenge, a repeat challenge style level, you're trying to get high scores. You should be able to get multipliers. This one was sort of the race format of the challenge, where you can just try and get a score, get 3 different level bells, got bronze, silver, gold, and your score depends on it. And you've got the whole sort of challenge setup at the beginning. And I really like this whole sort of toggle race, really great use of the industrial theme. I really like the girder bars throughout this whole thing. I think there were a few annoyances for me, was that, I mean, as much as I love this whole girder bar thing, I feel like it wasn't used as well as it could have. I feel like difficulty could have been ramped up a bit, and some of these sections didn't really, I mean, while they sort of fit the theme in some ways, I feel like they're a bit too much, they tried too much to sort of get certain style of obstacles in. And this bit really was the point of this bit, and it really slows us down in the race. And can we really maintain a multiplier there? Can we really? But I really like the whole concept of going through the city and sort of going down into the underground. It actually was very much a loop, which, you know, it may not have felt much like it, but it was very much a loop that we had to run, which is actually very cool. I like that whole aspect that we're running in a loop. And it's got great obstacles that actually fit toggle specifically with the whole bars and sort of smashing stuff. A great team pick, but maybe some of the other levels were more deserving in that competition too. Next up we have Creamy Cupcakes. So this is the portion where I'm not such a fan of now of the team pick review. Creamy Cupcakes by Villain. I mean, he had that little character you saw at the beginning there, and to be honest, it was really annoying for me because all it did was like have like 30 minutes to a minute of just him going ha ha ha, which just felt really annoying. And he appears later on in the level as well with another character, and all they do is ha ha ha, which is just, I mean, it annoys me, but you know, some of you might find it funny. But I quite like the obstacles in this are actually quite nice. And the whole level does have a very, like I was saying about CB's Seventh Son, he has, you know, a style, a format where he does levels. Villain also does very similarly have a very, has his own unique style that you feel like, yeah, this is a Villain level. It's all very simple, obstacles going around, and you know, you're just grabbing, you move the, you know, some things in and out, which I guess is quite good. To be fair, he's used it very nicely in a variety of obstacles, so it's not too stale. But there was nothing that really wowed me about this level. It just felt like, yeah, this is a solid level that may not excite me. It's just a solid level that I can play through. It's very short. So much really to say about it apart from it's just very, yes. There's nothing exciting about it. Maybe if it added a race element, it would have done something, or maybe it just put me off. That guy was just going ha 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 the whole time. It just doesn't feel right about that level. Cape Carnival by Robot Shadows actually is another level we played before, quite a while ago, and this does have a race level. It has, you know, you actually play through it once to get a sticker, I guess, and then you put a sticker on this Cape race to actually get the race mode on. Race mode, unfortunately, doesn't have any difference to it. It is literally just adding a race gate, which is a bit of a shame, considering, you know, what other levels have done while they added the race mode. Made, you know, like Mozart on the Hoverboard, which was actually a nice, cool take of having a race edition. But, you know, using Cape was very cool here. Nice little obstacles flying around. It does flow quite well. What annoyed me, though, was that I swear we cannot maintain our multiplier. I mean, if someone else can, let me know in the comments, because I was, you know, inspecting it quite hard. I was thinking, I swear there's no way I can maintain my multiplier throughout this whole level. My multiplier cuts, however well I do it in certain areas. So that's a bit of a flaw, I feel like, in, you know, a level that can do a race. And the way it does, because it flows quite nicely. It's just the bubbles were like, oh, I'm not letting you get a high score multiplier. And, you know, at least in this one, in Cape Carnival, he utilized the character a bit better to give some context and story, unlike Villain's previous level where it's just ha 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 the whole time. But, you know, replayability is good with the extra race mode. So overall, this is like an improvement of Creamy Cupcakes in some ways. Sort of a step up, but still, there was, I mean, maybe the race mode did give me some sense of excitement, but apart from that, it was very meh. And then, in, you know, final, most recent team pick is Mind Forest by Aiko Amy. This was very, very nice. I loved the music in this, and the whole atmosphere, the whole setting, felt so magical and wonderful. It made me feel like I was a borrower, you know, playing the borrower, and we were going through a forest collecting little trinkets and stuff. Certain bits like this didn't quite work for me, but overall the whole style of the level really felt magical, which I guess is the point, right? Being in a mine forest, but I like this sort of spirit sort of thing. I mean, all the obstacles are very, very simple, but it's just the whole setting and the gelling with the music. It just felt very fun to play. I mean, although it may have helped that the previous 2 levels that I played before playing Mine Forest were Cape Carnival and Creamy Cupcakes, and they felt very in their whole style. This was very fresh compared to them. So it really is a big contrast in this week's team picks. But you know, there was things that I didn't quite like about this level, despite it being so magical and wonderful and aesthetically really cool. Is that it did feel like there was not much to do. We are just walking through it, and there were some hidden bits throughout. It would be nice to have a little bit more story, and I guess it just ended quite abruptly in this level. It just came to a sudden stop. I kept feeling like, oh yes, there's gonna be more. I'm gonna go into their house. I'm gonna explore more things. Some of these aesthetic sections where it sort of changed the whole setting of where you are, sort of felt like, yes, we're gonna get a new thing now, but then it just suddenly ended. But I hope you like these team picks and this extended team pick review. Click that like button below and let me know what you think about these levels in the comments below. So hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll see you next time.